Welcome to First Things First. Are the Niners making the right call with Trey Lance and Jimmy G? Is there reason to believe Damian Lillard might actually be headed to the Sixers? And should Browns fans be thinking Super Bowl after what they saw this weekend? I'm Chris Broussard along with the beautiful Joy Taylor and the witty LeVar Arrington. We're with you all week. You guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, then let's get going. Let's start in the NFL. Dak sat out the Hall of Fame game, but he's doing light throwing at training camp. Mike McCarthy seems to feel good about how things are going. He says he likes where the Cowboys are at so far. So, LeVar, how should Dallas fans feel a month before the season starts in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I know you're going to give me a whole bunch of blues for this, Chris Broussard. I mean, think about it. You should be excited if you're a Cowboys fan. This is probably, outside of Dak dealing with the fatigue injury of his shoulder, this seems to be the most well-balanced, health-wise and skill-wise roster that they've had in quite some time. So I would be bullish if I'm a Dallas fan. The offensive line looked pretty good. Wasn't very many snaps in the Hall of Fame game, to be expected, but they looked better on defense. My baby Michael Parsons got a turnover. You saw it take place. You heard what it was. You know what it is, Chris Broussard. Yeah, listen, I'm not a hype man for Dallas, but if I am a Dallas fan, Joy, I got to tell you, I'm super bullish about it, and I'm super excited about the potential and the possibilities of what they could possibly be.
I think if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be extremely nervous right now because while everything else that you said is true, nothing's going to happen this season without Dak Prescott. Their quarterback situation without Dak Prescott is Cooper Rush, Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci. Do any of those names strike fear in the heart of any team around the NFL, let alone the rest of the NFC East? This injury is concerning. Now, Dak isn't really an injury-prone player outside of this ankle injury. He's very reliable and available. But as you guys know, often when you have injuries, you compensate by working other parts of your body, and your body's not really aligned. Sometimes you come back and tweak something else. And I think that that's probably what played a role in this injury situation. But look, the Dallas Cowboys run through Dak Prescott. If they don't have Dak out there, this season is a wash. Like, there's too competitive around that division right now. There's too much on the line for the other teams in the division. You have Washington's defense. The Giants are going to come back healthier, eventually going to get Saquon back. Like, this is, we're not going to talk about the Eagles, but this is a concerning situation if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I love the rest of the roster. I love the momentum going into the season with everything else except for Dak's injury. You should be concerned about Dak's injury because if Dak is not able to be out there for any other reason, their quarterback situation is a disaster.
Oh, well, there's no doubt, Joy. I mean, if Dak Prescott, if this injury is serious, yeah, they're in big-time trouble. But I'm not thinking it's too serious. Obviously, they want to get it taken care of and not let it linger all year, right? So I think they're being cautious about that. But he seems okay. And, yeah, I'm going to assume that Dak is fine. If that's the case, then, yeah, the only thing I disagree with LeVar saying was when he said he's not the Cowboys hype man, because he tempered it a little, America, believe me. He loves the Dallas Cowboys offense, defense, the whole 9 yards, but I like them too. And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm thinking this is finally the year that we come close to living up to the hype. All right, they're always overhyped going into the season. I'm not predicting Super Bowl. They're not one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. However, they should have every reason to believe, assuming Dak's healthy, that they're going to have a very good season. One, they should win the NFC least. All right, it's still, in my view, the weakest division in the league. Dak Prescott is by far the best quarterback in that division. I get it that Washington has the great defense, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's going to start falling off in about week 4. Trust me. All right, we'll get excited about them after a few nice games, and then Fitzpatrick will come back to earth. Taylor Heineke, is that the answer? The Giants are better than people expect, but Danny Dimes turns that thing over a little too much, and Jalen Hurts, we'll see what he does. But Dallas should win the division. Their schedule is light. All right, they've only got 5 teams with winning records. That's the worst schedule or easiest schedule in the NFL in that regard. 12 of the 17 teams they faced had losing records last season. I know they opened up tough with Tampa, but after the second week, it starts lightening up. You see, they got the Chargers, and then after that, it's a lot lighter. So I do think Dallas should win this division, and they got to be thinking, we're going to at least win a game in the playoffs. That should be the floor. Division title, 1 game won in the playoffs, and then anything after that is gravy. LeVar?
Yeah, listen, I don't want to get I don't want the conversation to get too carried away. Let's dial it back just a little. And I'm not going to dial it back a little based off of his shoulder. I'm just not. I don't think that it's just based off of everything reported. I'm not looking at it as a serious injury as well. Would I be concerned because he is dealing with an injury already? Yes, but those things happen all the time. I mean, this is not a bubble wrap game. It's full contact sport. Guys get banged up. Like, you're not supposed to be 100%. So, but I will say this. When you think about what we're talking about in terms of the potential of what the Dallas Cowboys will be, you still have to be thinking Dallas needs to show me that they're the team that people may prognosticate them to be. As much talent as they have had in the past, they still have underachieved. This is still Dallas, the underachieving Dallas Cowboys. So to me, with all of the talent, I think that there has now come a point where it's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, for this team. I think Mike McCarthy will be a better coach this year. I give them credit there. I think Dan Quinn being an addition to the team, I give them credit there. I think there's a lot of things to give credit for, and they, of course, drafted a linebacker from Linebacker U that's going to help transform that defense. And Joy, having a good defensive end and a linebacker on the same team can make a tremendous difference in the success of an entire team. So I would be bullish on them, but let's not get carried away. They still need to do some showing and proving in the big state of Dallas, Texas. You know what I mean? Big Texas.
I'm excited about Micah, too, and I like that you hedged your bet there, LeVar. You don't want to end up on Old Takes Exposed being all excited about the Cowboys. I agree with you, Chris. I think that they should win the division this year. I think they are much improved for all the reasons that LeVar just listed. And I'm optimistic about the Cowboys as a whole this year as well. But I disagree that this situation with Dak isn't concerning, because here's the thing. Even if he is ready for week 1, which is exactly 31 days away, this is a longer season now. We have an extra game. And as we've seen throughout the league, especially over last year, having a solid backup quarterback has kept many teams in the hunt and throughout the playoffs, because this is a long season, a collision sport, as you just mentioned. Dak is coming off of a major injury and now has tweaked something else in training camp. Going into the season not healthy isn't a good thing. I love Dak. I'm happy he got paid. I'm looking forward to seeing him this season, and I think he's going to have a good season. But them not having a backup for him, a viable backup for him, should be concerning. The team runs through Dak Prescott. We've seen what they are when Dak Prescott's not out there. We know what the Cowboys are when their starting quarterback isn't out there. It's a disaster. The Cowboys are always talented. They always have stars. It's the star. It's Dallas. So I think overall, there's a lot of things to be excited about. I agree with you, Chris. They should win the division and should win a playoff game, and then we'll see what happens from there. I know that the aspirations are always obviously championships, but they haven't done that in a very long time. So we do need to be realistic. I am concerned about the Dak Prescott situation.
Well, Joy, I think the health of that offensive line, too, is critical. You know,
yes.
they've got to be able to, 1, protect Dak, obviously, and 2, open up some holes for Ezekiel Elliott. Now, we keep hearing that Zeke is in shape. He looks great. You know, the reports from training camp is that he has his burst that he had his first few years in the league. So that'll be huge, because as much as I like Dak, and I've been a fan of his since he started. I think he's got all the intangibles. He checks all those boxes, winner, leader, etc. But he's got to be healthy, and he needs a running game. All right, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Pat Mahomes. I don't know that he's even Josh Allen. All right, he has to have a running game to play off of. All right, so if Ezekiel can turn back the clock, he needs to turn back the clock. He's still young. All right, if he can have a year like he had a few seasons ago, and I know he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I like that, then that is huge for the Cowboys, because if they've got the running game, we know they've got the receiving core, and I'm looking for C.D. Lamb to emerge as their top receiver. I like Amari Cooper. We know he's injured right now. He'll be back. But I like C.D. Lamb better, and I think he'll emerge as their number one threat. Michael Gallup is in a contract year, so he should come out playing hard. So that offensive line needs to stay healthy. And then defensively, I love Micah like you do, LeVar. I think Leighton Vander Esch, being on a contract year himself, has to come out and play well. Jalen Smith. You mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, and I think Trayvon Diggs is going to make a jump from his first year to his second. So I think that the Cowboys are going to be better on both sides of the ball, but as important as the health of Dak is, same thing with the health of that offensive line.
Yeah, and it's going to be the health of the chip on their shoulder, the mentality. If the offensive line shows up and they can play up to the level of what they look like on paper, this should be an interesting year for the Dallas Cowboys. But it is going to start up front on both sides of the ball. So if you're hedging, I'm not hedging my bet. I do think that they're going to be pretty good this year. But I also am a skeptic until you show me, because it's been too many years coming into the season. Dallas is good on paper. They just haven't been good on the field. But I do agree with you, Joy. In terms of with Dak, if Dak goes down, that is going to make it a difficult year for them. They're going to have to watch that. I mean, listening to the backups, I like DiNucci, but you know what? You're right. I don't know that they have a guy that can step in and be the guy if Dak goes down. And that's just what it is, Chris.
All right, let's switch to the AFC. Should the Cleveland Browns be thinking Super Bowl? That's next on First Things First.
Manny Pacquiao takes on undefeated champ Errol Spence Jr. in a welterweight title fight. Pacquiao Spence Jr., August 21st, live on pay-per-view. Buy it now on the Fox Sports app. Time for drawing a blank. According to The Athletic, the 76ers' goal is less to trade Ben Simmons and more to acquire Dame Lillard. Dame was asked about the Blazers' offseason. Take a listen.
A lot of things that are out of my control. When you go into free agency and things like this, you never know what's going to happen. You never know where guys are going to end up and why they go there. You just try to, have conversations and convince guys to, be a part of our team. And obviously, this go round, we didn't, we wasn't able to go out there and just get, some of the guys that we would have liked. And, you go down the list and you go through the guys that you like that are out there that haven't committed to another team or that was a part of your plans in free agency. And you get the ones that, that want to be a part of what you're doing. And I think that's what we did.
Okay, Joy, they were not able to get you to take your talents to Portland, your crossover, your fadeaway, all those explosive plays to the rim. Now that they weren't able to get you, where does Dame Lillard end up? What's fill in the blank for me? What happens next with Dame Lillard?
I think Damian Lillard's future in Portland is unstable. Dame is not an unrestricted free agent until 2025. He's made it pretty clear he'd prefer to stay in Portland. He wants them to make some moves. He's putting some pressure on the organization. Now, we all assumed he wasn't going to come out and do anything explosive or say anything explosive before or during the Olympics to take away the attention from Team USA, which of course makes sense. But now the Olympics are over. They have the gold. What's going to happen next? Well, the teams that were out there, like the Heat and the Knicks, have kind of eliminated themselves. So now, the talk is the 76ers trying to acquire Damian Lillard. Again, we can get into the whole situation with the Sixers and Ben Simmons, and they're obviously trying to get the most that they can for him, as they should. But as far as Dame goes, Dame is really in the driver's seat of the situation because he has to ask for a trade out of there. So we know how they finished the last 5 seasons. They've been bounced in the opening rounds. For a player as the legendary status of Damian Lillard, he has everything else he needs. He's checked every single box except for winning a championship. Now, Dame's brand and energy is not one to necessarily join up with a quote-unquote super team, but he's also aware that you're not going to win a championship if you don't have major pieces added to this roster. We know that because they keep getting bounced in the first rounds despite Dame's greatness. So the situation in Portland is unstable. I do think he is going to end up going somewhere else. Whether it's this season, I mean, I don't know what the value for him for that is to force his way to somewhere that isn't necessarily a contender. I think if he goes to the Sixers and they move Ben Simmons, it's not the best move necessarily for Portland because does Ben really fit into that? And then he's going to have the added pressure of having to replace Damian Lillard. So maybe this season isn't the right season to force that, but I don't think he's going to end up finishing his career in Portland.
Whew, it's bleak. It's a bleak situation, and I'm not talking Memphis bleak. I'm not talking it's the rock, baby. I'm talking it's cold as a rock. DOA, dead on arrival. Listen, I think in listening to his soundbite, he lets you know his disappointment. Talking about this go-around, I like that because it keeps it open-ended. It gives an opportunity. But listen, Dame Lillard knew that Portland wasn't going to be able to get it done this year for him with the type of players he wanted. Then you start to think about, well, do you have the pieces necessary to be able to stay in Portland in your better years and get closer to that NBA Finals championship round? You've mentioned how they've lost in the playoffs, Joy. I think that is complicated for Dame because he is loyal to the fan base, and I think he really enjoys being a Portland Trailblazer. But I think you also got to be realistic. And if your legacy is in play and you want to be able to get that next level win, it doesn't seem as though that they are attracting the right guys, Chris, to really be able to take that next step in Portland. We heard that they hired a trainer that Dame Lillard is close to in Philadelphia. I've made mention on other shows that Dame Lillard has that AI type of personality and mentality that would fit very well in Philadelphia. I think it's a great match, but in terms of what it is and in Portland, I think it's a bleak situation.
Well, before I fill in the blank, if I'm Cody Zeller and Tony Snell, ouch! The team leader is not that excited about them signing you. So that's not going to be fun walking into that locker room in the fall. But as far as what Lillard's future is in Portland, I say it is up to him. All right, up to him. And obviously he's signed long-term with the Blazers, so he doesn't completely control the situation. But I do believe that if Damian Lillard went to Neil O'Shea, the GM in Portland, and said, look, Neil, we've tried. I'm ready to move on. I'm 31 years old. I'm not getting any younger. I would like you to send me to Philadelphia. Or he might say New York, because he does like the Knicks from what I'm told. So he could control it, I believe, because I believe the Blazers would work with him. Because look, this is the time. Chauncey Billups is a rookie coach, and if they made a trade, say for Ben Simmons, that's a fresh start. The expectations are low. You can begin to build around Ben. I really do think you can do that. You put shooters around him. You let him bring up the ball in transition. You let him play in the dunker spot or in the post, in the half-court sets, and have shooters surrounding him. I think that's something Portland could begin to do if they make this move. What I think, though, will happen, because clearly Dame doesn't want to be the bad guy. He also has talked about loyalty, right? Talked about how loyal he is to Portland. He's spoken against super teams, which I do feel like he does feel in his heart, like he doesn't really want to join a super team. But look at the landscape. You're beating Brooklyn with what you have. You're beating the Lakers with what you have. So I think what Dame will do, despite all that, is I think he'll give Chauncey Billups a shot. I think he'll go back to Portland this season and give it a try. And some think that by the trade deadline, if things aren't working out, he could be ready to move. I don't think you should put that on the Blazers like that, though, because Chauncey in his first year, the last thing you want is to have the shadow or the cloud of Damian Lillard's future hovering over you for your first few months of your coaching career. So I think if he goes back, there's a good chance he stays there for the entire season. And then if they don't go further in the playoffs, if they don't get close to the NBA Finals, that's when I think next offseason, Dame will talk about going elsewhere, and I think the Blazers will oblige him.
Wow, so it's up to him. All right, let's talk NFL. Baker and the Browns, they were showing a lot of love on Sunday when 40,000 fans showed up for an open practice at First Energy Stadium. Last year, Cleveland won a playoff game. So, Joy, fans' excitement for the 2021 season? What is it? Fill in the blank.
Oh, Cleveland. No, let me not mess with Broussard. It should be expected. It should be expected. I mean, why wouldn't Cleveland Browns fans be excited about this team? I would be excited about this team if I was a Cleveland Browns fan. I could never, but if I was, I would be excited. What is not exciting about this? I love the Browns offseason moves. I actually really like what the Browns have done over the past 2 years. I think that they're finally building a culture there. Kevin Stefanski has really established a brand for this team, which is what I always felt like they were missing besides, like good players and stuff. But they needed a culture. They're in a division with the Steelers and the Ravens, who are perennial contenders and have incredible cultures and vast fan bases. And that's what the Browns needed. And the Browns are in a great position moving forward. They went 11-5 last season. Baker is playing for that big contract. You're getting Odell back. You still have Jarvis. Spent 5 of your 8 draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. Brought in Jadeveon Clowney. Brought in John Johnson III. I love what the Browns did this offseason. I thought they had one of the best offseasons of anybody in the league. And I don't want to get crazy with the expectations, similar to what we were just talking about with the Cowboys. It is still the Browns. You still have to prove yourselves. But look how their season ended last year, wiping out the Steelers in that playoff game, which I'm trying to remove from my memory. Don't look at the score of that game because it's very misleading. As we all saw, it was a complete butt kicking, to be kind. And then they had a competitive game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they have a lot of momentum going into this season. You're going up against an aging Ben Roethlisberger. Joe Burrow has said he's having some, issues in camp. While I love Joe Burrow, I still think the Bengals are a few years away from really contending in this division. So it's really just between you and the Ravens. And, Lamar Jackson's obviously great, but we still have to see what they're going to do going late into the postseason as well. So I think Browns fans should be really excited about it. Doesn't surprise me that they're out there excited for their team. And Baker is completely bought into this culture. He's bought into this system. He finally has a coach. They're not cycling through coaches every other year, what they love to do in Cleveland. I think they're in a great situation. Browns fans should be excited.
Yeah, I filled it in with high. The fans should have high energy for this Browns team. They have probably the most elite offensive front in the game. They have one of the most elite receiving cores, rounded off with 2 tight ends. They added a situational pass rusher in Jadeveon Clowney. Doesn't have to be a world beater, can actually be the type of player he wants to be in Cleveland. And that guy right there, Baker Mayfield, he found himself later on in the season last year. There was something that took place. It was like Rain Man, or what was it, Cinderella Man. It wasn't Rain Man, it was Cinderella Man. He came out of the corner, hey, that ain't the same guy. All right, he went into those playoffs, and I believe that his identity was a little bit more defined. I think that type of confidence coming into this year is going to play and pay major dividends to those 2 guys right there, and Odell Beckham and Landry. Juice was his man. We get Odell, you get Odell back for this season. A lot of people have questions about what can he do? What will he be? Well, I'll tell you what, with the confidence that Baker Mayfield has right now, he won't feel that added pressure of how does Odell feel? What does Odell want? It is going to be what fits within the schematics of what they want to get done. And I think that's going to benefit both Baker and Odell Beckham. And heck, let's triple down on it. It's going to benefit this entire offense for the Cleveland Browns. So they got the running game. They just got Chubb signed to a new contract. And like I said, the defense isn't a bad defense, but look for the offense of Cleveland Browns to be the ones that carry the load for this group. it should be high expectations for the fans right now.
I'm filling in the blank with nostalgic. Nostalgic, all right? I was there the last time the Browns were special. I mean, I know it was 3 decades ago, but I was there. I've been in the dog pound as a fan. All right, I remember Bernie Kosar, Ernest Biner, Kevin Mack, losing to Denver 3 times in 4 years in the AFC title game. I was there for all of that. 40,000 fans for a practice. This is what we do in Cleveland, all right? This is the type of fan base we have in Cleveland. Yes, I'm claiming it. I'm from there. I know LeBron put Northeast Ohio on the map in terms of basketball, but Cleveland is really a football city. And if you give them anything to cheer about, they're going to do it. So they're hyped. They should be hyped for all the reasons you said, LeVar. Joy, you even tried to give them a little love, but the Pittsburgh and you came out, they are the Browns after all. Yeah, I mean, you tried. I'll give you an A for effort, but no, the Browns are going to be legit and the fans are hyped about it.
All right, well, we're going to head out west, guys. Are the Niners already making a mistake with Trey Lance and Jimmy G? Next up, we'll talk about this on First Things First.
Back here with Coach Mangini talking 49ers. Kyle Shanahan has some serious decisions to make when it comes to Jimmy G and rookie Trey Lance. He addressed the quarterback situation on Friday. Let's take a listen.
Trey's going to play for us this year. I mean, whether it's, I know you guys all run into Twitter on that, but like, I mean, that is situationally, he's going to get plays. Like, that doesn't mean that he's going to go be a starter or anything. He's going to get plays, and you got to prepare him for that every way possible. Every receiver who makes our team is going to play this year. I know it's different, but when you have quarterbacks with different skill sets and stuff, it kind of makes it easier for me to look at it similar to other positions, and that's why I don't think it's a problem on our team, and it's not a problem in there when we're discussing what we want to do.
Okay, Coach, is this the right move?
Yeah, this is absolutely the right move, and this is what I believe they were going to do the whole time. Whenever you've got to prepare for 2 totally different styles of quarterback, it eats up reps in practice. So it'll benefit Jimmy in the sense that you're going to have to spend meeting time, you're going to have to spend practice time, you're going to have to spend time as a staff figuring out how you're going to deal with the skill set that Trey brings to the table. And you can bring him in and use him situationally, whether it's a red zone, whether it's 3rd minute, whether it's or 3rd down, whether it's a change of pace type situation. And it's hard because it is so dramatically different than the package that you're getting from the starter. The way it helps the 49ers is it gets him meaningful play time. And look, he is obviously the future, and now you get him in the games. You get him in the games in a way that he's contributing, and it allows him to develop and allows the guys around him to build their confidence in his ability to operate the system. It's smart, it's the right thing to do, and it's perfect for his development.
You know, I agree, Coach. It also keeps the legs under Jimmy Garoppolo as the leader of this team until he is not. What you don't want to do is create a bona fide quarterback controversy. Competitions are okay. Controversies, not so much. A 2-quarterback situation can work. We've seen it work in New Orleans and with Taysom Hill and obviously even with Teddy Bridgewater as well, with Drew Brees. It can work. So I don't think that people should get all bent out of sorts if you're sitting there and you're hearing Coach Shanahan say that he's going to use Trey Lance in these situational moments. You want to get him his reps. I agree with Coach in terms of the preparation. It is hard for a defense to really get their minds wrapped around the fact that they have to go against 2 different styles in a quarterback. It creates personnel situations. Is it a run type of deal? Is this quarterback a triple threat type of option versus a guy that's more of a pocket passing quarterback? So there are a lot of different things, and just the lack of familiarity with Trey Lance. You know, that's going to play in his part and in his favor as well. But getting those impactful reps, hoping that Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy and you don't have to put the weight of the entire team on Trey Lance's young shoulders. I think is a great win-win situation for Jimmy Garoppolo to get his value up, play well, and if he continues to play well, they'll probably ride that out until not. And then when Trey Lance is ready, the trade value is there. Trey is prepared, and Jimmy Garoppolo can move on with respect and with good value. So I think it's a win for everybody in this situation, Broussard.
I am shocked at you two football men. Absolutely shocked. I mean, no, this is not the right play. If Jimmy G should be your starter, all right, Jimmy G should play until he either gets hurt, and we know there's a good chance he'll get hurt, or if he doesn't play well. But no quarterback worth his salt wants to have another guy coming in to play on third down, or another guy coming in for gimmick plays here or there, or another quarterback coming in every second or third series. No, that you don't. Drew Brees did it, yes, but he was 40 years old by that point. He needed a break. He was fine with it at that point. Jimmy Garoppolo is 29. Jimmy Garoppolo still thinks he's got his whole future and career ahead of him. Jimmy Garoppolo is saying, the last time I was healthy, I had us 8 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl. No, this is not the right move. Look, this could be, and I do think it is a good chance Jimmy G gets hurt. And that's when Trey Lance is thrown in. But you don't need to throw him in right away. I wouldn't mind it if this is an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. It wouldn't hurt Trey Lance, who's only played one game in like the last year and a half, and that was at the FCS level in the Missouri Valley Conference. It wouldn't hurt him to sit for 1 year and learn at the feet of a Jimmy Garoppolo, learn with a top team in the NFC, in my opinion. That wouldn't hurt him at all. But again, he might get thrown in because Jimmy G gets hurt, but I don't think this is good. I think you need one quarterback, especially when you have a winner like Jimmy G, who's 22-8 as the 49ers starter, and those same 49ers, same coaching staff, same running game, all of that, same defense. They're 7-27 without Jimmy G over the last 4 years. So he's not Aaron Rodgers, but something about this dude gets wins in San Francisco. I think it should be him until he gets hurt or just stops playing well this season.
Yeah, but Jimmy G's always hurt. He's missed 39 games in the last 3 seasons. So you can't rely on Jimmy G. So is Jimmy G worth his salt? Sure, when he's available, but he's never available, so therefore he's not worth his salt. I like Jimmy G a lot, but he's not a reliable player, which is why Trey Lance is in the building to begin with. So because of what you mentioned, the fact that Trey Lance is very raw and has only played one game in basically a year and a half, you do need to get him out there a little bit, get him in game time situations. And how can you do that without completely derailing the locker room, to LeVar's point, without creating a quarterback controversy, because the fan base obviously wants to see Trey Lance. You put him in situations where he can do what he does. Because Jimmy G and Trey Lance are such different players, have different styles, putting him in these situational plays is a perfect way to get him reps, because he needs it, because he is so raw. See what he has, what is really going to be available to you moving forward, because he is the future. And make sure he has some feet on the ground, because Jimmy G is always injured. And if they do have to put him out there, they don't want to put him out there completely raw, not having played in a game in the last year and a half, and then he has to go in and start because Jimmy G is hurt. So I actually think this is the perfect way to solve all of your problems. You get him some reps in a way that doesn't completely derail the locker room and make Jimmy G feel like this is not his team, even though Jimmy is fully aware that he is not the future anymore. They gave up a lot to move up and get Trey Lance. Jimmy is aware this is his last year with the 49ers. It might not even be his last full season with the 49ers, because if he plays well and someone gets injured, then they feel like Trey Lance is capable. They may trade him mid-season. So there's a lot of things, moving parts, that Shanahan is trying to balance here. But putting him in situational plays where he can play the type of ball that he plays, which is very different than what Jimmy G does, is the perfect situation for the Niners. I think it's a great move that he did it. I also think it's good that he said he's going to do it, so that it doesn't become a shock to everyone when they put him out there and then it becomes a conversation of, oh, are they turning the team over? No, he needs reps. He's very raw. He's obviously the future. Jimmy G is aware of his situation and standing with the team because of what they gave up to get him. This is a perfect scenario for everyone.
Yeah, to your point, Joy, no quarterback worth of salt is in a situation where the team trades away 3 first-round draft picks to go get another quarterback.
Exactly.
That tells you everything they know, or everything you need to know about how they feel about Jimmy G. And I'm glad you brought up Alex Smith, because Alex Smith was there with Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick got meaningful reps early on and was such a different type of player that it caused fits for defenses. And you got to understand, there's only so much time in a week to prepare for a team, and when you've got to commit the energy as a staff to stopping a totally different style of player, and then you've got to commit meeting time and you've got to commit reps, it helps you so much, because that's reps that you can't commit to Jimmy G. And so it does have real strategic value there. And then you brought up the Drew Brees point. Do you think Drew Brees was excited about coming out, even though he was at the age that he was at? Do you think Drew Brees thought, oh, I need a rest? No, Drew Brees appreciated the value of a team having to prepare for a totally different style. And look, if he goes in and he plays well, they're going to be screaming for Trey Lance. This is he may start much sooner than we expect, because the second it goes bad with Jimmy G, that young guy's getting in and they're moving forward.
Broussard started the worth the salt conversation. Both you, Coach, and Joy used it again. So I'm going to repurpose salt and add T on the end. Salt T is what Jimmy G should be in San Francisco. And that's because, you know what? When Jimmy G took them to the Super Bowl, he's a defensive stand away from being a Super Bowl champ, and a vastly different narrative surrounding him as it has turned out and unfolded for him in his career while in San Francisco. While you'll say it was Jimmy Garoppolo that missed the passes that would have led to them winning the Super Bowl, I say it was the 10-point lead that he helped put up on the Kansas City Chiefs, that the defense that was supposed to be the cream of the crop, the bell cows of your team, gave up a 2-possession game lead. I don't know about that. But now we sit here and we try to figure out, how do we work with Lance? What are we going to do with Lance? We know Lance is the future. Everybody knows that Trey Lance is the future of this team. But I'm salty if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, because it's still held true that when Garoppolo went down, this team won 6 games last year. 6 games. And you know why? Because Jimmy Garoppolo was not in there quarterbacking. Sometimes I understand, you look at the fact that he gets injured and he stays injured quite a bit. I get that. But he's been healthy enough to amass some really, really good numbers winning wise in San Francisco. Do not lose sight of the fact that it's not a given that Trey Lance just waltzes into the starting position and this 49ers team just all of a sudden continues to win at a rapid pace the same way they did with Jimmy G. I'm a tad bit salty if I'm Jimmy G, because people are not respecting what this man has done to help that organization get back to winning. And that's coming off of the heels of them having a 6-win season, Broussard.
LeVar, that is exactly what a brother's talking about. You said you don't want a quarterback controversy, but if my starter, who's been our leader for 4 years, we heard how the players raved about Jimmy G. We know why they made him the highest paid quarterback in the league off of 5 games a few years ago. Why? Because it was something special about Jimmy G. Everybody loved him. And now if he's salty, as you said, that's not going to be an issue in the locker room. All right, that's not going to be a problem when the starting quarterback is upset. He feels slighted. That also decreases his trade value. So if Trey Lance is ready right now, then throw him in right now. But if he's not, I think you got to go with Jimmy G the whole way. You supported my whole argument. Maybe unwittingly, but you supported my whole argument.
No way.
Guys, if I'm amazing,
start Jimmy G.
If I'm amazing, but I only show up 2 days out of the work week, they're going to replace me. That's how it works. You got to be there.
You're going to get hurt.
I could do the best show ever. It's only 2 days a week. They're going to find somebody else. Switching gears now. Let's talk some Saints. What on earth is going on with Michael Thomas? That's next on First Things First. We're back here with Coach Mangini talking some Saints. Things have gone from bad to worse with Michael Thomas. We already knew the team was upset with Thomas for waiting so long to have off-season surgery. Now, a new report is out that the wideout ignored calls from coaches and trainers for months. And Michael Thomas tweeted this morning, "They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the story." So, Coach, how does all this play out?
It doesn't play out well. This is just an ongoing collision course, and everything keeps escalating. But the Saints are in a really difficult spot organizationally, because when you redo the contract like they did, and the amount of money that they have now in terms of dead money, if they tried to move on from Michael Thomas, they're not really in a situation where they can do that. I think it's $32 million if they wanted to make the move in dead cap money, and they're not in a great cap position. They were in such a bad cap position last year that they actually asked him to restructure his deal, so now he's got even more dead money. And there's been a lot of problems over the course of the last couple of years, whether it was the fight in the locker room or the fight on the field where they eventually suspended Michael Thomas. There are questions on when he initially got injured, whether he should have been out there at all, because they were up by, I think it was 2 scores late in the game when he got that injury. And as we all know, you don't want to put a player in a situation where he feels like he got wasted, where he feels like he was injured for no reason. It's a dangerous enough game as it is, but to be in that spot, and nobody wants to deal with that. So it's gotten confrontational. Sean's not afraid of confrontation. You saw it in his press conference where he says he should have gotten the surgery sooner, which he should have. But when you say something like that, you know what's going to happen. You know it's not going to de-escalate the situation. It's going to escalate the situation. So that's a conscious decision to turn this fight from something that's been private to something that's very public.
Yeah, I agree with that, Coach. And it's interesting because the first thing I thought of was this doesn't all add up. You're a coach. You would know better than me. I mean, as a high school coach, you can't go disappearing when you have an injury, let alone if you're in college or if you're in the pros. There's no way you can tell me a report says we've been out of contact with him for over 2 months. He's not responsive. There's no way with the contract situation that he has, the injury situation that he has, that goes unaddressed. The intensity of seeing Sean Payton and his disgust and disappointment, to me, I need that blank filled in for me, Coach. How do you go about how can you have that as a reason, a justified reason to say this is why Michael Thomas is in the situation he's in right now? He got the surgery late because we couldn't get a hold of him. That means that there is other repercussions. There are other conversations other than how does this play out with Michael Thomas now? These are conversations that should have taken place and have been handled way before now. Because you don't have the opportunity, at least I don't recall when I had injuries during an offseason, you don't have the freedom to not be around the facility. You're too much of an investment. Am I missing something here, Coach?
No, and with off-season injuries, players there's things built into the contract in terms of what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to have surgery and when you're supposed to rehab it, and there's flexibility built into it. But at some point, this could become a conduct detrimental to the team type situation where it's you go to the collective bargaining agreement and you say that he's violated his contract. But again, that just keeps escalating all of the issues that they have right now. If anything, you want to de-escalate it as much as you possibly can, because you can't move on from him due to salary cap reasons. And he's a really good player that can help you win. But it's gone to more anger and frustration, and now it's public. And as we all know, when it becomes public, it just gets that much worse.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach, that you'd want to de-escalate this thing, but they may be past that point. You know, it seems like that just may not be possible. And I'm with you, LeVar. Like, I just don't see how a player cannot be responsive at all to the team that's paying him, in this case, $96 million. All right, maybe, Coach, is there language in the contract? Do they try to go that route and get some, get some legal action against him, in this context because he violated the terms of the contract? If indeed he did, I don't know what's in his contract, but even the Packers were able to get in touch with Aaron Rodgers this previous offseason, as upset as he was. So that tells you how angry Michael Thomas is, having the surgery late. I would have thought that a guy like that, who was a few years ago recognized as maybe the best wide receiver in the game, he only played 7 games last year. Now he's kind of off the radar in those types of discussions. I would think he would have wanted to come back, have a great year, work with Jameis Winston or whoever's going to be, Taysom Hill, whoever's going to be the starting quarterback, to have a bounce-back year. The fact that he doesn't seem all that interested in starting the season by the timing of his surgery, that tells you how bad the situation is. And, Coach, you said it with the contract. I would think they want to just move on from him. But if they're unable to do that, then you only have 2 options. Either look at the contract and see what you can do, or you got to de-escalate it and work things out and try to get on the same page, Joy.
Yeah, this is really messy, and it just continues to get worse and worse. And now that it's public, the sides are going to start airing more and more dirty laundry. I don't know how you de-escalate it at this point. Michael Thomas is tweeting about it. He clearly has a completely different version of the situation. In general, there's 2 sides, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle, as we know. But I can't really compare these situations with wide receivers to what's been happening as of recent with star quarterbacks. Like, the Aaron Rodgers situation is a little bit different. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Aaron Rodgers just went to 2 NFC championship games and won the league MVP. He's Aaron Rodgers. He has a market pretty much anywhere in the league. Michael Thomas is a wide receiver who, while extremely valuable and still one of the top wide receivers in the league, isn't healthy right now. He's clearly beefing with an organization that has a lot of respect around the league. I mean, we don't think of the Saints as a dysfunctional organization. No, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and even functional situations have bad situations individually with players. But I don't think it's as simple as I'm going to force my way out because I'm unhappy. Like, what is the market? He's very expensive, to Coach's point. It's a huge loss for the Saints. But as far as having him on the field and his value to the team, this has gotten so toxic, I don't even know if that's the right situation. They might just have to bail on it and eat the money at this point, even if he comes back healthy. Because at the end of the day, this is a new Saints organization. Drew Brees is not there anymore. That era is over. They don't even know who their quarterback is going into the season. We don't even know whose team this is. So while it would be great to have Michael Thomas out there healthy as a veteran and one of the best wide receivers in the league, he's not, and now it's becoming publicly messy. The Saints have a lot of moving parts this season, and this is just a huge dark cloud hanging over the beginning of the season that I don't know how they're going to sort out. Once things start to get public and get out into the media, then you start having fans put in their weight and opinion on it, what they want the team to do, which matters in a city like New Orleans. The Saints fans are very influential and very important to that organization. So not that they're going to make moves for the fans, but they've got a lot of things going on this season, and this is going to be something that's discussed a lot. And now that Sean Payton made that statement in that press conference, I'm clearly unhappy with how things were handled with the surgery, it's just going to continue to get messier. And especially in an environment like today where everyone has a real opinion about what they're doing with their bodies and being told what to do. And, there's a lot of different cards that could be played here that could make this even messier than it already is.
I'm going to still stay with the 2 months time of no contact, Joy and Coach and Brew. I sit here and I think to myself, maybe we're not seeing this from the proper perspective. And again, I'll always defer to you because you've probably gone through these situations as a coach. But maybe Sean Payton's frustration isn't being really, really lobbed at Michael Thomas in this situation. It could be the medical staff. And the story, the tweet, people are kind of coming after Michael Thomas and saying, well, Michael Thomas, if you have your side of the story, you need to tell your side of the story. Maybe he's not telling his side of the story because him and Sean Payton may in some way be on the same page. I just feel like there's a gap here, Coach. And again, if I'm missing it, I'm missing it. But 2 months' time of no contact between your medical staff and your player, and he's one of your highest paid players, now your highest paid player, Coach, something ain't right. Something ain't right, Coach.
Well, here's the deal with that, LeVar. You can replace your doctor. You can replace your trainer. And those guys will get replaced in a heartbeat, especially if you feel like they've mismanaged your top player. You can go get somebody new in that position, and they don't cost you $32 million in dead cap money. In terms of not being able to reach him, I'm sure they called him maybe hundreds of times, and they reached out to his agent, and they probably reached out to friends of his. And Michael took the position that he didn't want to talk to him. And last year, here's another value of Drew Brees outside of how well he plays. There's a relationship there, and oftentimes players will play for other players and for the relationship they have. And then when Drew moves on and you've got uncertainty at the quarterback position and you're frustrated with the organization and maybe you feel like you should have never been injured. Maybe you feel like you shouldn't have been suspended for that fight. Maybe you feel like you've been mistreated across the board. You're making so much money, and you can argue that this surgery was well timed. So even if you get fined, or even if they come after your money, you can grieve it and still win. So now he has the surgery. He comes back mid-season. He sees where the quarterback situation is. The quarterback situation, the team situation isn't very good. He just keeps being injured and goes on IR. So it's. You see the frustration in Sean's words, but he has no ability to really act because of where the money is and how this is set up right now.
Getting messy. Well, let's talk some Cowboys. And is head coach Mike McCarthy already overconfident? That's next on First Things First. It wasn't always pretty, but the United States took home the basketball gold in Tokyo. KD and Draymond had a message for all their haters. Let's take a listen.
They had some power rankings out. They had us fourth behind that Slovenia.
Like this not our game.
Oh, man. Talking about they catching up to us. Like, are you serious? This skill is unmatched. You dig? Shout out to everybody that won this gold, everybody that chipped in and helped out. We're going to the press conference, but I had to talk my real quick.
LeVar, what do you make of the message to their doubters?
I mean, they have every right to address them the way that they wanted to. There were some doubters, Bucher, Broussard amongst them. We've heard some other names flash and float out there about how this USA basketball team would struggle to find a way to play in those international rules of playing the game, and we don't have any big men that can handle the size and the physicality that's going on down low, and yada, yada, yada. So you know what, KD? Have your moment. You got the gold. You guys redeemed yourself. Y'all still lost, but it was a wake-up call. It was certainly a wake-up call to say, you know what, we got to bring our A game to every single game. And they even had to bring that A game in that gold medal round. But I do agree with KD and his skill is unmatched. There's no doubting that. But I ain't going to say, I won't go as far as to say that the world isn't catching up. They are catching up. That the numbers say they are. But talk your S, as you said, KD. Talk your S.
Hey, I'm not mad at KD at all. And for the record, he wasn't talking about me because I was a soft buy. I was a soft buy. A buy nonetheless, but a soft buy. They won by 5. So I think soft buy is perfect. They beat France by 5. Soft buy was exactly what it was, so I was good with that. But here's the thing. KD said, the world, they catching up with us. Who said that? Your own coach, Greg Popovich. He sat in every press conference after every loss and said, they've caught up. It's not surprising anymore when we lose. So you should be talking that. Oh, you mentioned Kendrick Perkins. You sent out some tweets and stuff to other people. Your own coach was saying that other countries have caught up, and it's not surprising when you lose. So I do think winning the gold wipes away the ugly memory of losing to Nigeria, who I actually started thinking was actually going to be pretty good. They went 0-3 in the Olympics. All right, they weren't that good. We just didn't play well. We lost to Australia. We'll forgive all that. We'll push all that aside because they did deliver the gold. So congratulations. And KD obviously was fantastic, Joy.
No, he's brilliant. He's the best USA men's basketball player in Olympic history. So yeah, he can talk all the noise he wants to. I love it as a petty individual myself. You've got to keep the receipts and remind everybody what they were saying about you a few months ago, a few weeks ago. You know, when we were losing, you had all this stuff to say. What happened now? We got the gold. Now, overall, I think this particular Olympic journey was a good lesson for Team USA basketball, to your point, Chris. Yes, it wasn't the easiest road. Yes, Popovich is saying that the rest of the world is catching up with Team USA. It wasn't the easiest cruise to the gold medal, which I think is great, actually. That makes it competitive. It makes it feel like you really earned it. It means something that you didn't just walk in and dominate. So I love this whole Olympic journey for Team USA, and I have no problem with them. You know, I don't think it's haters. We are allowed to have an opinion after you lose. That's how this whole thing works.
Right.
You know, fans are allowed to be like, why are you losing when we're supposed to be the best? Right. It's fair to wonder why and to ask why and to give your opinion why. You go out and win the gold. All right, so we overreacted, okay, and not me. I still thought they were going to win, but I do think that this is overall a good lesson for how we're going to prepare for the next Olympics. Maybe we should take a little note from, I don't know, this other team that won 7 straight golds. 2 of the members of the team have won 5 of them. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird. They have continuity. We weren't talking about this with USA women's basketball. So this is a good lesson for Team USA's men's basketball. We need to start building some continuity moving into the next Olympics. It obviously still matters to a lot of people if you win the gold and bring the gold home for Team USA because we have the most talent. And if you have a shaky start, people are going to get nervous. I always thought they were still going to win, but I do think that there are lessons that can be taken out of this particular Team USA basketball journey. But congrats, they won the gold, and they have every right to talk all the trash they want to.
I have to be honest, for all the criticism, for all the hand-wringing, for all the nervousness, this was actually fun. This was a lot more fun than when we used to just rout everybody. And I wouldn't even watch the games because you might watch the first quarter and then it's over. This was exciting. This had drama. Are we going to win? This had intrigue. I mean, it was great. So I'm happy about it. And I do think, look, the world, the entire globe has caught up. I mean, a lot of the best players in the world, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, you know, they are Joel Embiid, they are from around the world. But no individual country has caught up. So it really shouldn't be this close. I mean, I get it. You can brag, you can gloat because you did win gold. But France had one guy who's ever been an all-star, Rudy Gobert. We had 9 all-stars on this Team USA, which is like our B team other than, you know, for about 4 or 5 guys. And so we shouldn't struggle this much. We shouldn't have won by just 5. There should have never been doubt, you know, in the weeks preceding the gold medal game. But, you know, we didn't play as well as we could have, but we did win the gold. So, LeVar, at the end of the day, they can brag.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch gears now and talk some football. Kyle Shanahan has some serious decisions to make when it comes to Jimmy G and rookie Trey Lance. He addressed the quarterback situation on Friday. Let's take a listen.
Trey's going to play for us this year. I mean, whether it's, I know you guys all run into Twitter on that, but like, I mean, that is situationally, he's going to get plays. Like, that doesn't mean that he's going to go be a starter or anything. He's going to get plays, and you got to prepare him for that every way possible. Every receiver who makes our team is going to play this year. I know it's different, but when you have quarterbacks with different skill sets and stuff, it kind of makes it easier for me to look at it similar to other positions, and that's why I don't think it's a problem on our team, and it's not a problem in there when we're discussing what we want to do.
Okay, LeVar, is this the right move?
Of course it's the right move. They do have different skill sets. You know, he had a dual situation with Kirk Cousins and Robert Griffin III in Washington when he was there. Worked out perfectly well. You look at what took place and has worked in New Orleans with Taysom Hill and Drew Brees. Dual quarterbacks can work. And in this situation, I think it creates a win-win situation for both quarterbacks in Garoppolo and in Trey Lance and with the team itself. Why? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter. Jimmy Garoppolo can get it done. We know he can get it done. Of course, there are questions surrounding the obvious, but when he's out there, he plays well, he wins games. He should be the starter of this team. We don't know what Trey Lance brings to the table in a real game situation. We don't know if he's the definitive guy that makes this franchise a better team and takes them the next step of the way. We don't know that yet. He's young, he's still learning. Get him some situational opportunities where he's able to play, get game speed reps, and get some experience. If Jimmy G is playing well, he continues to be the guy until he's not the guy. If Trey Lance is doing well, continue to get the experience. But to me, I think that Garoppolo can be the leader he needs to be and not feel undermined or slighted of hand by them playing him in situation opportunities, because that's just kind of an evolution of what offenses do. Go ahead, shoot your shot. Come on, shoot your shot, Broussard. I'll end there.
You know, LeVar, you know this is not the right move. All right, I think when Kyle Shanahan was sitting there saying, oh, Trey's going to play, he was just forecasting. Look, we all know Jimmy G's going to get hurt. Week 5, week 6, week 7, he's going to get hurt. So Trey is going to play. All right, no, until Jimmy G gets hurt, or if he just stinks up the joint, he should be the starting quarterback, period, the end. No quarterback, I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again, worth his salt wants his backup coming in on third downs, coming in to run gimmick plays and trick plays and every second or third series to play for me. No, what are you saying? I'm deficient? I can't get it done? I can't run this or run that? No, Jimmy G's not the perfect quarterback, but last I checked, San Francisco was 22-8 over the last 4 years when he starts the game. And that same San Francisco team, with that same stout defense, with that same great offensive genius coach in Kyle Shanahan, with that same strong running game, is 7-27 over these 4 years when Garoppolo doesn't play. So this dude is a winner. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's not Tom Brady. I get it. But something about him wins. The only time he was fully healthy, they were within 8 minutes of winning the Super Bowl. So he should be the starter, period, the end, until he either gets hurt or he just stops playing well. Then you can put Trey Lance in. But no, this shuttling and all that stuff, I don't like it. Aaron Rodgers didn't even like when you drafted his replacement. All right, Tom Brady didn't like when Jimmy Garoppolo was in the building, and 3 or 4 years down the line, Belichick was saying, that's my guy. You think Jimmy G's going to like that this dude's coming in every second series to run a play? No, it's not right. It's not right, Joy.
It's not right.
No disrespect to Jimmy G, but it just really doesn't matter what Jimmy G likes. Jimmy G is not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP of this league. Jimmy G missed 10 games last season. He's missed 39 games over the last 3 years. There's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda with Jimmy G. And I like Jimmy G. And I agree with you. When he is available, he's a winner. But if you have to put a qualifier on something, it lessens your skill. Being available is a skill. It is an ability. Are you on the field? If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I can't keep game planning for my season, not knowing if you're going to be upright. And that's not necessarily Jimmy G's fault. Some people are just injury prone, and it is what it is. But they didn't give up 3 first-round picks to move up because Jimmy G's always there. He is not there. I can be the best tenant available, pay on time, make sure that everything is clean. But if I skip every other month, I'm out. It's not how it works. You have to be consistent. You have to be available. You have to show up. And it's not that Jimmy G isn't trying, but he's just not available. He is always injured. They can't plan their season around somebody who isn't there. It doesn't matter how great you are. It doesn't matter how much winning you do when you're there, because we never know if you're going to be there. But I don't think this Trey Lance situation is even about Jimmy G's availability at this point. I think this is Jimmy G's team moving forward. I don't like quarterback competitions and controversies. I think if you have more than one quarterback, you don't have a quarterback. But in this situation, they did not move on from Jimmy G, specifically because Trey Lance is so raw. Do I think he's the future of the 49ers? Yeah. Or they wouldn't have given up 3 first-round picks to get him. I think he has huge potential, and he will be great, but he hasn't played any football in the last year and a half. He's been in 1 game.
Right.
So you have to ease him in. I personally am somebody that thinks that rookie quarterbacks that are drafted that high should start right away. But I think this is an exception in this case because Trey Lance hasn't played football in such a long time. So third down situations, specifically designed plays, are the perfect way to get him out there in game speed, get his feet under him, and not completely derail the team in the way that you're talking about, Chris, with having a quarterback controversy. Whose team is it? Who is the leader? It's Jimmy G's team this season, as it should be, until he gets injured, which is highly likely, or he really starts playing bad, which I don't think he will. I really think it's an injury situation, because really what you want to do if you're the 49ers is drive up Jimmy G's value by having him have a good season. You protect your rookie quarterback, who is extremely raw. You don't derail everyone else on the team's season, which will all be back healthy, and they have a contender roster. So putting him in these specifically designed plays, I don't think takes anything away from Jimmy G's value as a starter or standing as the leader of the team. I think it benefits Trey Lance. It benefits the 49ers as a whole. Maybe it doesn't benefit Jimmy G, but unfortunately, Jimmy G's injury status has removed his ability to play that card. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's not on the field. When you're there, when you show up every day healthy and ready to go, or you can play through those injuries like we saw Tom Brady do last year, then you can throw that weight around. But as good as Jimmy G is, he isn't on the field enough to do that.
But he still wins enough where they still have him. And I think that still remains the reality of the situation is he's the starter. And he's the starter for a reason. If he wasn't good enough to be the starter, if he wasn't available enough, he wouldn't be starting right now. So I think we got to give him a little bit more credit than just to think that he's going to be on the sideline the entire time and that this is Trey Lance's, like, you know, we're working him in because Jimmy G is going to be gone. I think it proves the point. I think Jimmy G has to be accepting and open and realistic about the fact that he does get injured. I think he also is confident in the fact that if he can stay healthy, he can play well enough to win games with this team. He's proven it. You know who hasn't? Trey Lance hasn't proven it yet. We don't know if Trey Lance can win as the starting quarterback for this team. And if they're not putting him in as the starter, because you're right, Joy, if you give up all of the things that you give up to be able to get a quarterback at the pick that you did, and you're not starting him right away like they're doing down in Jacksonville right now, it's because they don't feel he's ready. Or they think that Jimmy Garoppolo is the better starter. Or it could be a combination of both. So to me, to have a dual quarterback situation, he said situationally. He did not say specific plays. He said situationally speaking, which means to me, that says he's getting him game reps and game experience that would lend to him being a starter or having the experience with commanding the situations in situational football that would prepare him for a time to become the starter. I don't see there being an issue with it. Jimmy Garoppolo probably doesn't see an issue with it. The players don't see an issue with it. I don't look at this as a quarterback controversy. I look at it as a quarterback's by committee, one in waiting while the other is good enough to maintain his job as a starter and not bad enough to lose his job to an incoming high-ranked, high-drafted rookie.
Speaking of situations, the one in New Orleans has gotten ugly. We talk Michael Thomas next on First Things First.
All right, time for stories to start your morning, brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Things are getting ugly in New Orleans. We already knew the Saints were upset with Michael Thomas waiting so long to have off-season surgery. Now a new report that the wideout ignored calls from coaches and trainers for months. Also, Michael Thomas not remaining silent. He's tweeted this morning, "They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the stories." Ouch. LeVar, how does this thing play out?
Well, it's going to continue to not play out well. I mean, there's insults being exchanged at this point. And I'm not really sure what Michael Thomas was alluding to, other than to, in my humble estimation, think that he's lobbying what he's saying towards someone other than Sean Payton. Sean Payton is upset and frustrated. We could tell by that and hearing it in his conference. But I think it should be noted that I think he's upset because he wants to have Michael Thomas on this team and on the field, not for any other reason. So I just feel like there's a disconnect. There's a hole here, and that disconnect and that hole in communication and how things were supposed to take place ultimately has turned this situation into a volatile and turbulent situation. I don't see it playing out well the way it seems to have kind of unfolded and started to develop.
Yeah, this is a messy situation, and now it's very public, so there's going to start to have some mud thrown on both sides. We saw Mike's tweet there, so he obviously feels like the messaging that's out there is not accurate. We heard from Sean Payton last week. He was very vocal about how he felt about the situation. The truth is obviously somewhere in the middle, but the bottom line is we're not going to have Michael Thomas out there for the beginning of the season, which is bad news for the Saints. They don't have Drew Brees anymore. They don't even know who their quarterback is. And Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in the league who you just paid a lot of money to, and you can't just move on because the dead cap is impossible to manage. So it's a really bad situation all around, but I think it's gotten too messy to amend at this point. I mean, I guess in theory, all things are fixable, but once things start to become really public and things are said that can't be taken back, you know, there's a lot going on here. I have a really hard time believing that Michael Thomas would wait to have surgery on purpose to sabotage the Saints or the season. I have to hear him say that for me to believe that, because it's just, I don't believe that as a competitor you would do that. That doesn't help his career. I understand he's been paid, but if he wants to move on, like another team is going to want to deal with that. So I just have a hard time believing that. It may be something with the training staff, to your point earlier, LeVar. How do you go off the grid for this long without communicating with the player? How does that even work contractually? I don't know. There's a lot going on in this situation, but in the end, I don't think it's going to end amicably for the Saints and Michael Thomas.
Joy, I get where you're coming from. You hate to accuse a guy of something like this, and I don't know. So I'm not accusing him either, but I'm just saying 6-time NBA champion Scottie Pippen did the same thing, right? He did the same thing to the Chicago Bulls. We all saw that in The Last Dance. He waited to strategically have surgery before the season started so he wouldn't have to start the year. So I don't know if Michael Thomas did this. LeVar, I'd like to believe you that, okay, he's at odds with the training staff. He might be at odds with the wide receivers coach because reportedly he couldn't get in touch with him either. I'd love it if he and Sean Payton were on the same page, because obviously Payton has enough clout in that organization to make things right. But reportedly, Sean Payton was trying to reach out to him too and couldn't get an answer. So it just seems like Michael Thomas is done with the Saints. And normally I would say, okay, move on from him. This is a different team now. Drew Brees is gone. We got young quarterbacks somewhat, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. We can start all over and trade for him. Maybe we can get a lot for him because he's one of the best receivers in the league. Oh, but here's the problem. You mentioned the dead cap money, Joy. It would be $32.6 million. So that is a lot of money to swallow for a bad situation. So it is ugly. Maybe can they sit down now that he's at least in your presence, you would think, where you can talk things out, hash things out and get it right? I'd like to say yes, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. But it just seems like it's not headed for the right place, LeVar. And I don't know how you fix it now, especially after his tweet, where it looks like he might start dropping dimes on some people.
I mean, if he does, then now it's really detonated. So the only chance is if Sean Payton and Michael Thomas sit down and have a conversation. That's the only way this works out.
No, I agree. And Sean Payton does have the power within that organization to smooth things over with everyone else. But I've always felt like this was a retooling season for the Saints. You're moving on from your Hall of Fame leader and face of the organization in Drew Brees. We don't know who the next leader is because they haven't said if it's going to be Jameis or Taysom. And now you don't have Michael Thomas out there. And now it's not just that he's not going to be there. There is drama, a lot of it associated with why he's not going to be there. You would want to come into the season with Michael Thomas healthy and on the field, especially when you're in a situation where you're moving on from Drew Brees to a new quarterback like Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. So I'm discouraged right now if I'm a Saints fan because there's just a lot going on. But I would put this now on Sean Payton. He's the coach. He's the one who has the ability to reach out to him and fix all this. So he's got to put all his effort into fixing this situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy there, so maybe he can reach out to Michael Thomas and smooth this thing out. You certainly want that for Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, whoever's your quarterback. But it's not starting off well for the Saints. All right, guys, great job. We will be back with you guys tomorrow right here on First Things First. Stay tuned for Skip and Shannon. They're back.